The autumn rain drummed steadily against the windows of Rosie's Diner, a small establishment tucked away on a quiet street corner in Charleston, South Carolina. It was the kind of place where locals gathered for comfort food and conversation, where the smell of fresh coffee and homemade pie created an atmosphere of warmth against the cold world outside. Maya Johnson, a 28-year-old black woman with kind eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest room, wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that evening. It was a slow Tuesday, the kind of shift where minutes felt like hours. But Maya never complained. She needed this job, needed every tip, every extra shift to support her younger brother through college and help her mother with medical bills. The bell above the door chimed, and Maya looked up to see an elderly white man shuffling in from the rain. He was tall but stooped with age, probably in his late 70s, with silver hair plastered to his forehead from the downpour. His blue eyes, which might have once sparkled with life, now seemed clouded with a profound sadness that made Maya's heart ache just looking at him. He wore an expensive but outdated coat that hung loosely on his thin frame, and his hands trembled slightly as he made his way to a booth in the corner, the one by the window where he could watch the rain cascade down the glass. Maya grabbed a menu and a pot of fresh coffee, approaching his table with her characteristic warmth. "Good evening, sir. Quite a storm out there, isn't it?" she said gently, setting down a cup and pouring the steaming dark liquid without waiting for confirmation. Most people who came in from weather like this needed coffee immediately. The old man looked up at her, and for a moment, his expression froze. His eyes widened, his mouth opened slightly as if to speak, but no words came out. He simply stared at Maya's face with an intensity that made her slightly uncomfortable. "Sir, are you all right?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. He blinked rapidly, as if breaking out of a trance, and nodded slowly. "Yes, I'm sorry. You remind me of someone." His voice was hoarse, thick with emotion. Maya smiled gently, accustomed to such comments. "I get that sometimes. People say I have one of those familiar faces." She placed the menu in front of him. "Take your time deciding. I'll be right over here if you need anything." But as she walked away, she felt his eyes following her, felt the weight of something unspoken hanging in the air between them. If this story is capturing your attention, click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to discover how this incredible tale unfolds. And if you want to know how this impossible story develops, leave your like so more people can follow this mystery with us. Throughout the evening, Maya found herself drawn to the old man's booth. He ordered only toast and continued to nurse his coffee, staring out the window at the rain, but occasionally glancing at her when he thought she wasn't looking. There was something in his gaze that wasn't creepy or inappropriate, but rather deeply sorrowful, as if looking at her caused him both pain and comfort simultaneously. During a quiet moment, Maya approached his table again. "Can I get you anything else, sir? Maybe some pie? We have excellent pecan pie, made fresh this morning." The old man shook his head, then hesitated. "What's your name, if you don't mind me asking?" Maya smiled. Maya Johnson. And you are?" "Robert," he said quietly. "Robert Whitmore." The name meant nothing to Maya, but she nodded politely. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Whitmore. You live around here?" Robert's hands wrapped around the coffee cup as if drawing warmth from it, though the liquid had long gone cold. "I used to. Long time ago. I'm just visiting." His voice trailed off, and Maya noticed his eyes becoming glassy with unshed tears. "Are you sure you're all right?" she asked, her natural compassion overriding professional boundaries. "You seem like you're carrying something heavy." Robert looked at her directly then, really looked at her, and said something that would change both their lives forever. "You look exactly like my daughter. Exactly. It's almost as if she's sitting right here in front of me." Maya felt a chill run down her spine despite the warmth of the diner. "Your daughter?" Robert nodded, reaching into his coat pocket with trembling fingers. He pulled out a worn leather wallet and from it extracted a photograph, its edges soft from years of handling. He placed it on the table between them, and Maya leaned forward to look. What she saw made her gasp audibly. The photograph showed a young black woman, probably in her early 20s, with the same high cheekbones, the same wide-set eyes, the same smile that Maya saw every time she looked in a mirror. The resemblance wasn't just strong, it was uncanny, almost impossible. "Oh my God," Maya whispered. Who is this?" "Her name was Sarah," Robert said, his voice breaking. "Sarah Whitmore. She was my daughter, my adopted daughter." Tears began streaming down his weathered face without shame or attempt to hide them. "She died 3 years ago. Car accident. She was coming home from her nursing shift at the hospital. A drunk driver ran a red light. He touched the photograph with infinite tenderness. Every day since then, I've carried this picture with me. Every single day. She was my whole world after my wife passed. And now she's gone too, and I'm just an old man waiting to join them. Maya felt her own eyes filling with tears. She slid into the booth across from him, something she'd never done with a customer before. But this felt different. This felt important. Mr. Whitmore, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine. But Robert interrupted her gently. When you walked up to my table tonight, for just a moment, I thought I was seeing a ghost. I thought maybe I'd finally lost my mind completely. But you're real. You're here. And you have her face, her smile, her gentle way of speaking. He paused, struggling with emotion. Do you believe in signs, Maya? Do you believe that sometimes the universe sends us messages? Maya thought about her own life, about the struggles she'd faced, the moments when hope seemed lost, but something unexpected had pulled her through. I think I do, Mr. Whitmore. I have to believe that, or else what's the point of any of it? Over the next hour, as the diner remained empty except for them and the cook in the back, Robert told Maya about Sarah, how he and his late wife, Linda, had adopted her when she was just 3 years old, a little girl in the foster system who had stolen their hearts the moment they met her. How despite being an interracial family in the South, during a time when that wasn't easily accepted, they had built a life filled with love and laughter. How Sarah had grown into an incredible woman, compassionate and dedicated, becoming a nurse because she wanted to help people. She had your same gift, Robert said. The ability to make people feel seen, feel valued. Patients would request her specifically, because she had this way of making even the worst diagnosis feel bearable. Maya listened, completely absorbed in the story of this woman she'd never met, but felt strangely connected to. What was her favorite thing to do? She asked. Robert smiled for the first time that evening, a sad but genuine smile. She loved to bake. Our kitchen was always full of cookies, cakes, bread. She said baking was like medicine for the soul, that you put love into the ingredients and it came out as healing. He laughed softly at the memory. She used to bring her creations to the hospital, share them with patients and staff. Said sugar and kindness were the best prescription. Maya's breath caught. I love to bake too. My grandmother taught me. I make pies and cakes for the diner sometimes, and I always say the exact same thing, that you bake love into the food. Write A in the comments if you believe in meaningful coincidences that the universe orchestrates, B if you think these are just random occurrences, or C if you've never considered this connection before. The synchronicities kept emerging as they talked. Sarah had also helped put a sibling through school, her younger adopted brother who was now a successful lawyer in Atlanta. Maya was doing the same for her brother. Sarah had lost her mother to cancer when she was 25. Maya had lost her father to a heart attack at the same age. Both women had chosen service professions, caring for others despite their own struggles. Robert seemed to become more alive with each shared detail, as if reconnecting with his daughter through this stranger who wore her face. I came to Charleston tonight to say goodbye, Robert finally admitted. To the house where we raised Sarah. To her grave at Magnolia Cemetery. I've been living in Atlanta with my son since Sarah died, but I needed closure. I was planning. He paused, and Maya saw something dark flicker across his face. I was planning for this to be my last trip. The implication hung heavy in the air. Maya reached across the table and took the old man's trembling hands in hers. Mr. Whitmore, please tell me you're not saying what I think you're saying. Robert couldn't meet her eyes. What's the point anymore? Everyone I loved is gone. I'm 79 years old. I have nothing to contribute to the world. I'm just taking up space and waiting to die anyway. Why not speed up the inevitable? Maya squeezed his hands tighter, her voice firm but compassionate. Because your story isn't finished yet. Because maybe the reason you walked into this diner tonight, the reason you met me, is because you still have purpose. I don't believe in accidents, Mr. Whitmore. I think Sarah sent you here. Robert looked at her then, really looked at her, and something in his eyes shifted. What do you mean? Maya took a deep breath, feeling the truth of her words as she spoke them. You said Sarah loved to help people, that she made them feel valued and seen. What if her legacy isn't finished? What if she's working through you, through me, through this impossible meeting to continue that mission? She paused, an idea forming. What if we honor her together? What if instead of giving up, you help me create something in her name? Robert's expression showed confusion mixed with the first glimpse of hope. Create what? If you want to continue receiving incredible stories of hope and purpose that defy all logic, click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell. And if this story is grabbing your heart, leave your like to help others discover that miracles happen in the most unexpected places. Over the following weeks, Maya and Robert became unlikely partners in a mission that gave both of them renewed purpose. They decided to create the Sarah Whitmore Community Kitchen, a place that would offer free meals to those in need, baking workshops for underprivileged youth, and a warm space for the lonely and forgotten. Robert used his considerable financial resources, he had been a successful architect before retirement, to lease a building just 3 blocks from Rosie's diner. Maya brought her culinary skills, her warmth, and her ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Together, they assembled a team of volunteers, many of whom had their own stories of loss and redemption. The transformation of the empty building into a vibrant community center took 3 months. During that time, Maya and Robert spent nearly every day together, and a deep familial bond formed between them. He became the grandfather figure Maya had never had, and she became the connection to Sarah that kept his heart beating. Robert shared countless stories about his daughter, showing Maya photo albums, teaching her Sarah's favorite recipes, even giving her some of Sarah's belongings that his son had wanted to discard. "She would have wanted you to have these," Robert insisted, handing Maya a box containing Sarah's nursing school textbooks, her favorite apron embroidered with sunflowers, and a journal filled with her thoughts and dreams. Reading Sarah's journal was an otherworldly experience for Maya. The handwriting was different, the specific experiences were unique, but the thoughts, the values, the way Sarah saw the world, it all resonated so deeply that Maya sometimes forgot she was reading someone else's words. Sarah had written, "I believe every person we meet is a teacher or a student, and most of the time, they're both. Every interaction is an opportunity to plant seeds of kindness that might bloom when we're not looking." Maya had expressed almost identical sentiments in her own journal just weeks before meeting Robert. The connections were too numerous, too specific to be purely coincidental. The grand opening of the Sarah Whitmore Community Kitchen took place on what would have been Sarah's 31st birthday. Over 200 people attended. Friends of Robert's, regular customers from Rosie's diner, community members who had heard about the project, and Sarah's former colleagues from the hospital where she'd worked. Robert gave a speech that left not a dry eye in the building. 3 months ago, I walked into a diner planning for that night to be one of my last. I had given up on life, on purpose, on hope. But then a young woman who could have been my daughter's twin offered me coffee and kindness, and everything changed. He looked at Maya, standing beside him. Sarah used to say that love doesn't die, it transforms. I didn't understand what she meant until now. She's still here, still helping people, still spreading light, just through different hands. Maya spoke next, her voice strong despite her emotion. "I never met Sarah Whitmore in life, but I feel like I've known her forever. Through Mr. Robert's stories, through the incredible legacy she left, I've come to understand that some souls are connected across time and space, in ways we can't fully explain. This kitchen isn't just about food, though we'll serve plenty of that." The crowd laughed through their tears. "It's about continuing Sarah's mission of making people feel valued, of turning pain into purpose, of proving that love is the strongest force in the universe." She paused, looking at the photo of Sarah that hung prominently on the wall. "Sarah, wherever you are, thank you for sending your dad to my diner that rainy night. You saved 2 lives that evening, his and mine. Leave in the comments your age and tell me if you've ever experienced a connection with someone that felt destined, that changed the trajectory of your life in ways you never expected." The community kitchen became a phenomenon in Charleston. Media outlets covered the story of the elderly white architect and the young black waitress, who looked exactly like his deceased adopted daughter, brought together by fate to create something beautiful from grief. But more importantly, the kitchen served over 300 meals daily, offered baking classes that gave young people skills and confidence, and became a gathering place for the elderly, the homeless, the lonely, and anyone who needed to feel part of a community. Maya quit her job at the diner to run the kitchen full-time, and Robert, despite his age, showed up every single day, greeting guests, washing dishes, and sharing Sarah's story with anyone who would listen. One afternoon, about 6 months after the kitchen opened, a young woman in her mid-20s came through the door. She was thin, her clothes worn, her eyes showing the hardness of life on the streets. Maya greeted her warmly, as she did everyone. "Welcome. Please, sit anywhere you'd like. Today we have vegetable soup, fresh bread, and apple pie for dessert." The young woman, who introduced herself as Jasmine, ate slowly, savoring every bite as if it might be her last meal. After she finished, she approached Maya at the counter. "I heard about this place from folks at the shelter. They said a lady here looks like an angel and treats people like they matter." Maya smiled. "Everyone matters. Everyone has a story worth hearing." Jasmine hesitated, then spoke quietly. "I'm trying to get clean. I've been addicted to heroin for 3 years, but I'm on day 12 sober. It's the hardest thing I've ever done." Maya came around the counter and pulled the young woman into a hug. "Day 12 is a miracle. Each day is a miracle. You're stronger than you know." Jasmine began to cry. "I don't have anywhere to go, no job, no skills. I feel so lost." Maya pulled back and looked her in the eyes. "Do you like to bake?" Jasmine looked confused. I used to bake with my grandmother before she died. Before everything fell apart." Maya smiled. "Then you have a skill. And if you want, you have a place here. We have a baking program starting next week. You could join, learn, and when you're ready, we might even have a job for you." That interaction became the template for dozens more. The kitchen evolved into not just a feeding program, but a rehabilitation and job training center. Robert, inspired by the transformations he witnessed daily, established a scholarship fund for people like Jasmine who were rebuilding their lives. He named it the Second Chances Fund, and it covered education costs, housing deposits, work clothes, and other barriers that prevented people from moving forward. Sarah believed everyone deserved a second chance, Robert explained at the fund's launch event. She saw potential in people that others had written off. That's what we're continuing here. Maya's brother Marcus graduated from college that spring with a degree in social work. His graduation speech credited his sister's sacrifice and dedication as his primary inspiration. "My sister Maya could have pursued her own dreams, but she put them aside to make sure I could pursue mine. Now it's my turn to pay it forward." He accepted a position as the community kitchen's first official social worker, helping guests navigate the complex systems of healthcare, housing, and employment. The kitchen was becoming a model that other cities wanted to replicate. On the 3rd anniversary of Sarah's death, Robert and Maya visited Magnolia Cemetery together, as they now did every year. They placed fresh sunflowers on Sarah's grave, her favorite flower, and sat on the bench nearby, talking to her as if she could hear. "Your dad is doing amazing, Sarah," Maya said softly. "He's helped so many people find hope again. You'd be so proud." Robert added, his voice thick with emotion, "And I found a daughter again. Not a replacement, sweetheart. Never a replacement. But a sister for you in spirit, someone who carries your light forward." As they sat in comfortable silence, a butterfly landed on Sarah's headstone, its wings the exact orange and black pattern that Sarah had loved. Robert and Maya looked at each other and smiled. Some might call it coincidence. They knew better. At this crucial moment in the story, I want you to do something powerful. Write in the comments this exact phrase: "Love transcends death and creates new beginnings." If this story has touched something deep within you, if you've understood that loss can transform into purpose and pain can become healing, write these words. I want to see how many of you are vibrating on this frequency of understanding. The 4th year of the kitchen's operation brought unexpected developments. A documentary filmmaker named Jordan Chen had been following Maya and Robert's story for months, and his film premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. Faces of Grace: How a Coffee and a Photograph Changed Two Lives won the Audience Award and was picked up by a major streaming platform. Suddenly, Maya and Robert's story reached millions of people around the world. Donations poured in, enough to open 3 more community kitchens in underserved neighborhoods across South Carolina. Maya hired former guests who had gotten back on their feet, creating a team that understood struggle and resilience from personal experience. Robert, now 83, had slowed down physically, but remained sharp mentally and more purposeful than ever. He started a blog called Letters to Sarah, where he wrote weekly posts about the kitchen's impact, sharing stories of transformation and reflecting on grief, hope, and unexpected grace. The blog attracted thousands of followers, many of them bereaved parents who found comfort in Robert's honest processing of loss. "Grief doesn't end," he wrote in one popular post, "but it can be transformed into something that honors our loved ones. Sarah's death destroyed me, but meeting Maya reconstructed me into someone who could channel that pain into purpose. I'm not the same man I was, and I'm grateful for that." Maya, now 32, had blossomed into a community leader and advocate. She spoke at conferences about food insecurity, addiction recovery, and the power of human connection. But she never forgot her roots or lost her warmth. Every morning, she was still the first to arrive at the kitchen, making coffee and greeting early guests by name. "How's your daughter doing, Mr. James? Did you get that housing appointment confirmed, Mrs. Patterson? Shanice, I saved you some of that cornbread you love." She knew everyone's story, everyone's struggle, everyone's small victories. Robert often watched her work with tears in his eyes, seeing Sarah in every compassionate gesture, every genuine smile. On what would have been Sarah's 35th birthday, the kitchen held its biggest celebration yet. Over 500 people attended, many of them former guests whose lives had been transformed by the programs offered there. Jasmine, the young woman who had come through the doors 4 years earlier struggling with addiction, was now the kitchen's head baker, 3 years sober, with her own apartment and a restored relationship with her family. Marcus had helped dozens of people access healthcare, housing, and employment, reducing the chronic homelessness rate in their neighborhood by 30%. The ripples of that one rainy night when Robert walked into Rosie's diner had become waves of change affecting an entire community. During the celebration, Robert asked for everyone's attention. Leaning on his cane, looking frail but filled with fierce joy, he made an announcement. 4 years ago, I wanted to die. I saw no reason to continue living in a world without my daughter and my wife. But God, the universe, fate, whatever you want to call it, had other plans. A young woman who could have been Sarah's twin offered me coffee and kindness, and I found a reason to live again. He gestured to Maya. Today I'm announcing that I'm establishing a permanent endowment for the Sarah Whitmore Community Kitchen. $25 million to ensure this work continues long after I'm gone. Gasps and applause erupted. But more importantly, Robert continued, his voice breaking, I'm announcing that I've legally adopted Maya as my daughter. At my age, at her age, it might seem strange, but family isn't about biology. It's about love. Maya, you gave me back my life. Let me give you a father's love for whatever time I have left. Maya stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. She had not known about this plan. Robert had worked with his lawyer son for months to arrange it. Mr. Robert, But he shook his head. Just call me Dad, sweetheart. That's all I want. Maya rushed to embrace him, both of them crying, while 500 people witnessed love transcending every barrier that society might erect. In that moment, Sarah's spirit seemed to fill the room, her mission of love and connection fulfilled in ways no one could have imagined. The final years of Robert's life were filled with more joy than he'd known since losing Sarah and Linda. Maya moved into his Charleston house, and they lived as the family they'd chosen to become. They cooked together, with Robert teaching Maya the recipes Linda had loved, and Maya teaching him dishes from her mother's kitchen. They watched old movies, worked on jigsaw puzzles, and talked for hours about everything and nothing. Robert attended Maya's 30th birthday, her college graduation when she finally finished her degree in nonprofit management, and walked her down the aisle when she married Derek, a teacher who had volunteered at the kitchen, and won her heart with his kindness and patience. When Robert passed away peacefully in his sleep at 87, Maya held his hand just as she had held Sarah's hand in the photograph years before. His last words to her were, "Tell Sarah I'm coming home, and I'm bringing stories about the incredible daughter who saved my life." At his funeral, attended by hundreds whose lives he'd touched, Maya gave the eulogy. Dad used to say that meeting me was a miracle, but he was wrong. The miracle was that he had the courage to keep living after losing everything. The miracle was that he chose love over despair, purpose over resignation, hope over surrender. He taught me that we honor those we've lost not by joining them too soon, but by living so fully that their love continues to flow through us into the world. Maya continues to run the Sarah Whitmore Community Kitchen Network, which now operates in 12 cities across 5 states. She's written a book about her journey with Robert titled The Coffee That Changed Everything, with all proceeds going to the Second Chances Fund. She keeps photos of both Sarah and Robert in her office, 2 people she loves deeply though she met only one in life. And every morning, before the kitchen opens, Maya makes a pot of coffee, pours 3 cups, and sits quietly with the photos. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Dad. Let's do some good today. If you've watched until here, it's because this story of destiny and purpose has resonated deeply in your soul. I want to know you. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until here," so I can know who's part of this community of people who still believe in the transformative power of love and connection. And if this story has inspired you, click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to discover other incredible stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Leave your like to help this message of hope reach millions of hearts. And share this video with anyone who needs to remember that miracles happen in the most unexpected places, that love never dies but transforms, and that every single act of kindness can change a destiny. Robert and Maya showed us that family is not defined by blood but by love. Are you ready to recognize the divine appointments in your own life?